91.3 FM WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative since 1982, brought to you by the Buffalo State College Student Activity Fee. I'm Nick Lippa here, bringing you Buffalo's alternative jams here, and I am with a special guest I'm privileged to be with right now, Ronnie Spector. Ronnie, how are you?
Hi, Nick. How are you? I'm just fine, thanks.
Yeah, a real privilege. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us today. We have your new
I can
album.
hear you very not too loud.
Which
I know we're live, but
no.
that's why I wanted to tell you.
Oh man, and I'm so pumped about that. I'm just happy things are working now.
Yeah, well, they are, but I don't hear you as loud as I could.
Oh,
but
okay.
it's okay. Let's rumble.
Well, Ronnie, we got your new album here in studio, and it's received a lot of good reception. So tell us a little bit about your new album, English Heart.
Oh, well, I just loved recording it because, well, number one, I was familiar with the songs, and I love that, the fact that I knew the songs. And secondly, I was there in the 60s when all the British invasion, just before they came to America. I was with all the groups, the Beatles, the Stones, the Kinks, Eric Clapton and the Yardbirds. So I was thinking about a year ago, if I did another album, it would have to mean something to me. And the reason it meant so much to me and the Ronnies is that was the peak of our career, is when we were over in England in '64. I mean, it was like amazing. Be My Baby was number one over there. Baby, I Love You had just come out, and that was like climbing the charts really fast. And it was like, when I got off the airplane with the Ronnies, it was like kids at the airport. I mean, we traveled all over the United States, but we never had kids at the airport, So when we got over to England, they treated us with such respect, and just they loved us. What can I say? I don't want to sound, conceited, but the English people, we had a different look, I guess, and I had a different kind of voice, and the Ronnies had a different kind of sound, and we dressed differently from any other group. We were half-breed, so that made us different in the first place. It was all these reasons that people really loved us because, like I just said, because we looked so, not better than other groups, but different, and we were just different, and we loved it, and we loved being over there, and we loved the attention we got. And that's when I said, I'm going to do a song about the English group that I met over there. The Rolling Stones were our opening act. So it wasn't very hard for me to pick out a few songs. I even sing Time Is On My Side in my show. But I knew all these guys, and it was amazing. It was because just before before the Beatles came to America and got off that plane, they were with us over in England. So I knew all these guys as friends. And back then, Nick, it was so innocent and so wonderful. All we thought about, our record is on the radio, stuff like that, and the music and the fun we had backstage, like in between shows. I'll say, like, if somebody's birthday, we get a big cake and soda. It was the innocent years of rock and roll that I remember and love, and that's why I did English Heart, the album, because right in 1964, the Ronnies were at their peak, and we were with all the English groups, and they loved us. And that's why I went back, and that's why I did English Heart, the album.
Now, do you still get those those jitters? You talk about that excitement feeling when you hear your song played over the radio, like you mentioned?
Yeah, are you kidding? If I hear even one of my old songs, I pull over to this. I live in Connecticut, so I pull over to the side and listen to myself. And then when I'm in like ShopRite and all Stop and Shop and all these grocery stores, today they play 60s music, and all the and out in Connecticut anyway, and they play all the that's me. But of course I can't. I'm online and stuff getting groceries. But I want to yell out to the people, that's me on that record, And so it's like amazes me every time I hear something, either from the 60s that I did, from the 70s, or the Eddie Money thing in the 80s. I get so excited, Nick. It's just, I can't help it. I love what I do. So when you love what you do, when you hear yourself on the radio with something you did years ago or now, you go, oh, my God, It's like crazy for me. I love it.
Man, and you can just tell you have so much joy when you're talking about it, and it sounds like you're having so much fun.
Well, that's the joy. I save it up for going on stage. I love the people. I love being on stage. I love, getting involved with the people. If I see a cute guy out there, I might give him a wink. I just love what I do. And I love singing to the people and telling them stories about my childhood and who I fell in love with, my inspiration, like Frankie Lyman. And I just go on and on. And people love my show. What can I say, Nick?
Now you mentioned as well. So you're talking about the innocent years of rock, and you mentioned knowing the Stones as friends of that, and that people the Stones actually recently came to Buffalo not too long ago, put on a huge concert at Rolf Wilson. Now the Stones opened for you in early 1964. What was that like?
Well, it was wonderful because everybody was so happy to be in the music business, and they were all so happy that they had a hit record. I mean, most of the groups that we toured with didn't have, the Kings, Eric Clapton, and those. They had minor hits. The Rolling Stones weren't even known in America, nor were the Beatles. So it was all so great, that they loved all the American music. And I remember going to dinner with the Stones and the Beatles and all those guys, and they would want to know every song and every act. And they, how was James Brown? I don't know. I didn't know him. It was like they wanted to know everything about America. And who would have known or guessed in a month from then, when I was there with the guys, that the Beatles would get off the plane and everybody would go crazy. It never occurred to them. It never occurred to me. I remember John Lennon calling me up when they got to the States. Ronnie, we're prisoners here. What should we do? We don't know anybody. So I went to the Plaza or whatever hotel they were staying at, me and the other two Ronettes, and we sat on the floor. We had played 45 records, and we had the little sandwiches, the little finger sandwiches we call them, just having fun and showing them about. I remember taking the Beatles to Spanish Harlem so they could eat in peace. And people didn't bother them there. We took them to this barbecue stand I'll never forget. And they thought they were just some Spanish dorks. Nobody even looked up at them. They could go and play the jukebox. Nobody would say, oh, that's the Beatles, because they had all that downtown, and they were so tired of it. So I took them up to Spanish Harlem. And they could eat in peace, and they loved it. They loved the jukebox, and, they could be themselves.
Now, well, out of curiosity, was there, a favorite food that you knew of the Beatles, somebody real good, somebody had a weird they really liked the specific food?
It's funny you should mention that, because I remember getting off the bus with Keith Richards and myself, and we loved, it was called Wimpy Bars. Have you ever heard of White Castle?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's what they were like over there, except they called them Wimpy Bars, hamburgers, and they were tiny, and I loved them. So Keith and I would jump off the bus, and get the Wimpy, they call them Wimpy burgers. And I love them. And they introduced me to things like that. And, of course, the finger sandwiches I love now. I can't eat bread with the, with the crust on it anymore after all those years. I have to have it with no crust. Because after I left the British invasion, I like a lot of things they did over there that we didn't do over here,
Yeah.
like the little finger sandwiches and stuff, and Wimpy Bar and all that stuff. And then John Lennon took me to Carnaby Street and showed me where to get the latest clothes and fashion and T-boy shirts and, boots. And we just had a great, great time. And we had such great friendships with all the guys. It wasn't so much drugs, rock and roll, and sex. It was none of that back then. It was just so happy to be in show business, so happy that we had a hit record on the radio, excited backstage, and if somebody's birthday, we have cake and ice cream and, regular stuff, soda. There was no drugs involved. There was none of that. It was just so great back then. That's what I loved about it. It was innocent, it was fun, and it was all about the music.
91.3 FM WBNY. We're here with Ronnie Spector, gracing us with her presence here. Now, you mentioned as well, just how it was and all about the music. How do you feel the times have changed in that regard?
Oh, well, they've changed greatly. I mean, the radio, everything has changed. I mean, I think people got that from the people like me, pioneers from the 60s. I mean, you couldn't even write your own stuff back then. And I think people today know that's where the money is. So people, like in my generation, didn't get rich. but people of this generation do because they learn from people like me. You know, in other words, I go to California, and all the writers were out there, and the producers, and publishers and stuff, and they lived in mansions, and I'd have to go on the plane 5 hours there and come back to Spanish Harlem, and I couldn't figure it out. How come all these guys have mansions? You know what I mean? And they just wrote the song. We would go on tour and kill ourselves making these record hits all over the world. And then I'd come back, and I have to go to Gold Star Studios and do my next record, and then I'd leave, and that one lives there. That really, So that's how I was sort of learning that the money was in the publishing and the writing and stuff. But you couldn't do anything about it like back then. Today, people know about that. That's why they're smart today, because they don't want to in court like I was for 20 years, in royalty, fighting for your royalty rights and stuff like that. So, and I love the people of today, but they just didn't have to. I mean, today is just so different with everybody having an entourage and makeup artists and fashion people, and we didn't have any of that. We made up our own style. The tight dresses split up the side, big beehives up, our hair with the hair coming down to one side, and I mean, we were just different, and it was so great, and we loved it so much, and the people loved us, and then their number one thing is they're writing their own stuff, and that's where all the money, like I just said to you, the money is when you write, like, say, Taylor Swift. She writes her own stuff. Therefore, she has millions and millions of dollars. In the 60s, the groups were not allowed to write their own stuff. Not all of the groups from the 60s, but most of us, And that's the difference in today. But today, you also, it's an image more. Like you had your own style when you went out there in the 60s. But now people sort of tell you what to do. You have the makeup artist. You have the, the glam squad. You have so many people that by the time you get on stage, you're saying, who am I? That's what I would think. Well, in my case, it's like I look at other artists and I say, dancers everywhere, and you're doing, it's what do you call it, not singing, the sync.
Lip sync.
How do you
Lip-syncing?
say that? Well, you're not you're syncing your songs. You're not really singing them on
Yeah,
stage.
lip syncing.
All of that.
Yeah.
Lip syncing, yeah. All of that. I couldn't do that. I really couldn't, because it's not real. But some people today have to do that because they have so many dancers and so much choreography. They would lose their breath. So they can't sing themselves. So you're not really getting your money's worth. If you saw my show, Nick, you're going to see me singing. You're going to see me dancing. You're going to see my background singers sing and dance. But it's not going to be a circus, because it takes away from who I am. So you really see the artist, and today you don't really see that. You see the people making them what they are, the glamour people around them, and the people who dress them, and the people who do all this stuff. It's like crazy. Sorry, but it is to me.
No, that's something where you talk about a lot of musicians. It's not specifically about the music, but it can be about the brand. Is how a lot of people feel
Exactly.
about nowadays.
And nowadays it's more about the brand, and you have cable TV now too. So you can, if they don't get you on that station, they'll get you on this one. So it's a lot of hype today and a lot of unnecessary stuff. And that's why with the internet, I guess it's all about, and Facebook and all that stuff. It's just like, wow. In today's world, that's all I can say is, wow. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask another question here. Now, you were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
You were with REM, Van Halen, Patti Smith, Grandmaster Flash. Who would you like to see inducted in the near future?
In the near future, that's a good question. No one's asked me that, because I don't have an answer. I don't know. You know why? I tell you why, Nick. Because so many groups you hear of for 2 years, they're hot on the charts and they're on TV, and then they disappear. So I can't say today I have any favorites and stuff, because there are a lot of gimmicks that people put out there to get you to buy their record or whatever, internet or whatever they do, iPod. I don't know what they do. But most of it to me is so not real. Everything is like planned or pre-planned. ever plan my shows. I don't know what routine I'm going to have out there. I might put a hip over here or a hip over there, but everything today is so planned ahead of time what the artist is going to do and how they're going to do things to make the public say, oh, I wonder if they're going to... And it's like all a game now. To me, it was so real in the 60s, and the groups were so hungry for, just being out there and letting the audience see what they could do. And it's all of that's gone. It's none of that anymore to me. I just see a bunch of dancers, a lot of lip syncing, and a lot of dancers and choreography and, entourages. And where's the one little person that's the performer in all of that? It seems to me they get drowned out. The person that, say a Taylor Swift or Beyonce or whatever. So many people around them to tell them what to do, where to do it, da-da-da-da-da. I couldn't live like that. I'm rock and roll pure. I love rock and roll. Rock and roll is about walking out there and doing your thing and getting to the audience and loving them and they love you back and going off stage. And that's rock and roll. It's not all this glammed up stuff and give me a break with the choreographies and the You're not getting pure rock and roll. You're getting a glimpse of what might... I don't know what I'm saying anymore, but I do know. What I don't like today and what I loved in the 60s was everybody was more pure, everybody wanted to make music, and you weren't thinking about getting rich. That never entered, my mind, and a lot of other groups, too. You never thought about getting rich. You thought about going out there. You knew you were going to get paid, but you weren't thinking about becoming rich and what mansion and what car. It's like, what? Is this rock and roll or what is this? I don't know what it is, okay?
Well, it's funny. You talk about playing off of the audience within all of that and talking about real rock and roll. Let me ask you, how important is it to you? You talked about not necessarily having everything scripted. Is an audience to you? Different musicians usually have different perspectives of audiences and different feeds, but what does an audience do? How does it affect your performance?
They have everything to do with it. The minute you walk out there, when I'm holding my mic, say at 8 o'clock backstage to go on, and you hear them sort of roaring up because they see my band coming out there, it means everything to me, the audience. That's all I care about. Pleasing the people that came and paid their hard-earned money to come see me. That's all I care about is the audience. That's why I don't have a bunch of dancers and this and that, because I want them to get what they paid. They came to hear Be My Baby and Walking in the Rain and all those great songs I did 60 years ago with the Ronnies. And that's what I give them. I give them what they came to hear and see. I don't give them a little mirror. This is what I was then, and this is how I am now. No, this is rock and roll, and this is Ronnie Spector. And I used to be a Ronette, and we were fabulous. Boom. That's all.
Now, let me ask you, so let's go back to your new album, English Heart.
Okay.
Is there any other songs that you would have liked to record that didn't make the cut?
There were a few, but I went through, let me tell you, Nick, I went through like 70 songs from over there, and narrowed them down to say, okay, that fits my voice. I would sing something like that. It took months to figure out which songs would be best for my voice, whether it's a male or female, because I have Lulu in there and Sandy Shore, 2 of the songs were girls. But the rest are all guys. The Kings, all my fellow members of my 60s love fest. And what was the question?
Oh, was there any other songs that you would have liked to record that didn't make the cut?
Oh, of the English Heart album?
Yeah.
Not really, because I really narrowed it down. I mean, I stayed in the studio, at home, everywhere, and I just listened to what wouldn't sound right for me or coming out of my mouth. So all the songs that you do hear, like Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood, I loved it, and I changed a couple of lyrics. I'm just a girl, whose intentions are good. Don't let me be misunderstood, and I said I love that. So I just would say I love that, I hate that, that's not for me, and then I narrowed it down to the 11 you hear now.
Now, that's great.
Thank you.
Now, let me ask, you came around the New York area, the Niagara Casino area, and concert for January 2010. Do you have any plans of coming around this area?
What, New York area?
Yes.
I'm going to be Saturday, tomorrow, as a matter of fact, in New York.
Are you going to be in the Western New York area by any chance? Anytime soon?
Yeah.
Any plans?
I don't know what you mean by Western area.
Like Buffalo, Rochester.
No. I'm going to be in New York City.
Got you.
You know what I mean? Like in mid '60s, somewhere down there.
Okay.
Theater. It's called the Society for Ethical Culture, meaning of music.
And when will that be again?
Tomorrow night.
Okay. For all our listeners who may be listening in. Now, I wanted to ask, I just got a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
One of them was, you mentioned going into the studio, and I was curious. You've been recording for a long time. What are the differences in recording that you've come across? Are there things you're still doing the same that you did 40 years ago, using the same mics, kind of sound kind of deal, or are you doing different things when you record now?
Well, when I record now, I do different things, of course. It's like that wall of sound and all that, and you're sort of buried in it. It's gone if you listen to English hard at all. And, just certain things, they have to be different if you're talking 50 years ago. They can't actually be the same because you go by who produces you and who writes for you. All these songs I had known for 50 years, which I loved. The fact that I knew all these, I was familiar with all these songs I recorded. And what was your question? Because I'm.
Oh yeah, just what are the differences that you've seen, or is it the same that? So I guess, but you already addressed that. So what are the what are the differences of recording? Like what have you? What's different about recording English Heart when you're in the studio? What's the different process for that comparative to what you did beforehand?
Oh, well, beforehand in the 60s, you all the musicians had to be there, and then they put you in a booth. So you could be, like the lead singer, of course. And that's how they did you then, and everything had to be more or less live. And then you would leave, and then you could re-record your vocal. Now, when I did it this time, I did maybe 2 songs in one day. Back then, you did 1 song, and that would take a week. But today, you can do 2 songs in one day. So because of the, the equipment today is so different from it was in 50 years ago. I mean, you have to think about the technology of how it is today. You can actually do things, and that person doesn't even have to be there. I mean, it's so different like that. And in the 60s, everybody had to be there, the musicians, the background singers, of course, the lead singer. And that's a big difference. So there's a lot of difference now.
Now, you're scheduled to tour in the UK again in June 2016. What's your future from here on out?
That is my future. I mean, June is coming up. I never think about my future or what's going to be in the next 5 years. I take it a day at a time, a week at a time. I mean, I didn't even know about the show tomorrow until like 4 days ago because I'm 2 Ronnies. I'm at home. I go grocery shopping. I cook a little bit and, stuff like that. And then when I'm on stage, I'm not married. I don't have kids. I'm just Ronnie and my audience, and I love being out there with my audience. And that's my biggest thing. I love singing. I love, it's like the old saying, the smell of the grease paint, the roar of the crowd. When you're backstage with those mirrors and you hear that the audience is coming in, and you get goosebumps, actually. You just get, oh, my God, I'm going on soon. And it's been that way for 50 years with me. I get so nervous. I put myself in a little corner for about 20 seconds, and you just say, Ronnie, it's going to be okay. They're going to love you. Just relax and have fun. And then I go out there, and I do exactly that. I have fun, and they adore me. I adore my audience, and we take it from there. I sing to them, they sing back, and it's like a party. I have fun, and I could only have fun if I'm communicating with my audience. I can't have fun if I'm dancing with a whole bunch of people. I mean, I don't get that, so I don't do that. Because I want to please the audience. I want to be with them. They're with me. It's like I'm in my living room, and I talk to them, and then I sing to them, and all of that. But it's all about the audience, and that's my biggest I love my audience. I love going out there to a live audience and just giving it to them, rock and roll, and having fun while I'm doing it.
And they say, and they say, the people, anytime you get nervous, it's a sign of caring, even after a long period of time. And you can really hear when you listen to you talk about touring and the music, how much you care about it all. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Nick. It was great talking with you too.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna play one of your songs. What song should we play?
Anyone you like.
Do you, any in particular?
I don't know. I love Much Rather Be With the Girls. I love How Can You Mend. I love You Got Your Troubles. So I'm going to leave it up to you, Nick.
Oh, man, that's tough. I personally, my favorite, I think, on this album is I'd Much Rather Be With the Girls.
Well, then that's what you got to play.
There we go.
That's what I'm rehearsing anyway today. Okay, it's great talking to you, Nick.
Ronnie, thank you so much. Have a great day. And again, you'll be in New York City again tomorrow?
Yep, and you keep on rocking, Nick.
Thanks, Ronnie. Have a great
day.
Bye. Bye. That was Ronnie Spector here on 91.3 FM WBNY Buffalo, Buffalo's original alternative since 1982. Brought to you by the Buffalo State College Student Activity Fee. Ronnie Spector, her new album, English Heart. It's here in our rotation. If you want to call in to get more information about Ronnie Spector or some of the music, some of her concert dates, call in 716-878-5104. But we're going to play a song off her track. This one's called I'd Much Rather Be With the Girls here on WBNY.